I want to do, before we start on music, I want to just tell you about Abbey Road. It's, to me, the mecca, the holy grail of places to record. It took me about a year to get a booking there. I kept calling and calling. I said, oh no, none of that. And I went through 3 booking people. They were all sweet and kind until finally the heavens smiled down upon me. And the British girl said, yes, we have Saturday, Sunday, June 4th and 5th. I said, okay, take it. So I took it, and it was like, oh no, now I've got to do something. So I put together, I have a collection of about 220 songs that are in my head and in my iPhone, songs ideas, I'll put it that way. So I started calling them down. We had a 2 10-hour session, but let's talk a little bit about Abbey Road. This is not me, this is my friend Chuck, who's a video editor in LA, put this together. And he did I'm not gonna play the audio of it. This is Studio 2. And you can see where I am and where the Beatles are in that left corner. That's where the Beatles recorded, which is a thrill to me. And this has some nice audio to it, but artists like Pink Floyd, Tony Bennett, Adele, Ella Fitzgerald, and you can see the size of it. And that there is what was profound, I'll put it that way, to say the least. I was actually praying there, thinking, thank God, I made it through this. Anyway, so Chuck did a good job on putting this together. Chuck Cruz, the video editor, will come up later in a segment here. So anyways, you got enough of that. Here I was, sorry, I had to put this in. I was forced as a kid to take lessons for 11 years, okay? I hated it. I absolutely hated it. But truly, it was the best gift my parents ever gave me. I ended up with a career in music, both as a pianist, as a concert booker, learning from Steve Block himself out in LA.
Oh, wow!
Yeah, no kidding.
Yes.
And then just so it's been incredible to come back to this. Abbey Road, okay, so we get there, all right? And it's an iconic place. Now get this, I'm walking up here, and this is early in the morning, and if this is too geeky for you, let me know. But I just love this stuff, and the gates were magically open. And I was like, oh my God, how often does a person do this, or do I do this? Hardly never. There's Tim and Vicky there. That's before the fans came in, so. Anyways, it was cool to walk into the place and know the history on those steps, and the Beatles being there, and so many artists. You can see me, I look like I've won a lifetime supply of ice cream on that. So you walk in Abbey Road, and there's the studios. Whatchamacallit, down the hallway is the front door. If you come towards us, on the right is Studio 3, and then Studio 1. Now in Studio 1, that's a big orchestra studio. They record Harry Potter things there, you know, the huge stuff. And then Studio 3 is smaller, and then Studio 2, that's the place to be. So we entered this, it was kind of surreal going in, and there's a control room. And if you look on the left there, you can see a door that leads to actual Studio 2. And now we're out the door on the landing, and that's the window into Studio 2 control room. Now, this was epic to look at this and go, oh my God, I'm actually here. That piano on the left was used on the Beatles' White Album. There's a B3. There's the Mrs. Mills piano on Penny Lane. And it's just like, oh, this is amazing. So it was profound to me, I'll put it that way. Here was my setup for the day. You can see that iconic stairwell and the window that Sir George Martin used to look out of at the Beatles. And I was just thinking, man, it doesn't get any better. But I did a side-by-side, and on the picture on the right, you see those iconic steps and the window. And I was basically in that same area. I was, dang. And then here, again, I love this picture. This puts out the poignancy of being there alone in the studio by yourself, and everyone else is upstairs. And as I said, there's a keyboard on the left That's the Challen piano for the White Album. And on the right, about the same way, again, you know, Penny Lane and All You Need Is Love and things like that. So that was cool. So I'm set up in that back left corner. If you look at other pictures of the Beatles, you've seen the same two doors, the exit sign and the clock. I was on that same footprint as they were. And I was like, how good does this get? So thrilled to be there. I was in my office for the day. I got to stop for a second and say, these were my parents, Edward, John, and Irene Bazel. And they drove me kicking and screaming to piano lessons and put up with me, okay? So here they were out in LA visiting. So when I was in Abbey Road, I wore my dad's cufflinks. And I'm wearing them tonight too, just so they could be part of this. Anyway. All right, so let's get to the sitting down at the piano, okay? There was no running or hiding at all. Usually, there are 2 microphones in the piano, and maybe one underneath to get the bass and maybe the pedal, you know, sound and all that. Not so here, okay? Let me see it. Okay, there's another look at the microphones, but let's go to the video. I even say my geeky tech friends would love to see this, okay? So what you're seeing now is there's 2 microphones. There's the 3rd, 4th, 5th in there, 6th, 7th, 8th down there, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 microphones. There was no place to hide, I can tell you that. So I was very impressed by how they set things up. This was my view, sitting on the piano bench and looking down at that herringbone floor and wondering how many people have passed before. It was pretty darn cool to be there. There's our record producer, Alex Carter, who's in the audience right now. Alex, where are you? There you go. He did a great job. Here he's playing the Celeste, which could be heard on a couple of notes in the CD. So he was digging for all kinds of interesting sounds. Oh, you don't need to see that. That we know. We've seen that. Again, let's get back to my friend Chuck, the video editor. He has this picture. He's come up with my next CD cover, which is the greatest hits of the A-Team. This guy paints out cigarettes and in cigarettes in films and television stuff. So anyways, I had to give him credit for that. All right, this was the crew, a great crew. We have Gordon and Joe on the outside. They're from Abbey Road. We have on the left Vicki Shelton, who is our location manager. Tim Shelton, he's our executive producer. A tall guy. Cindy Blevins, our stylist. Alex Carter and Amanda Carter. And I couldn't have done this without them. I truly have a load of debt. This is a team effort here to put this together, to do what we did. All right, so lastly, I'm getting the picture taken, okay? The steps of Abbey Road. I'm thinking, this is kind of surreal. And I'm looking down there, people looking at me. And a couple were taking pictures like, oh, you've got this all wrong. But, so it was interesting to be on this side. And then lastly, we'll talk about the crossing, okay? There is no stoplight there, okay? It's a busy street. Drivers have to stop when you're in the crosswalk. So basically, you're taking your life in your own hands to try to cross through that. I magically got through on one, so I was lucky on that. And then, again, to be there was epic. So I'm glad you're here for this, and I'd like to play a few songs if you're okay with that. Yeah.